He prays, he fasts, he quotes hadith like he was raised in the masjid. On the surface he looks like every dua you've whispered through tears, but behind closed doors, he lies, he manipulates, he chips away at your peace, silently. Just because he appears religious doesn't mean he's safe to marry. Just because he talks about deen doesn't mean he lives it. You tell your friends, he's not that bad. You tell yourself, no one's perfect. But somewhere, deep in the quiet corners of your soul, a whisper grows louder. You deserve more. And maybe, just maybe, that whisper isn't your ego. Maybe it's your Lord, gently nudging you away from a road that leads to heartbreak, because Islam doesn't only guide us on who to marry. It teaches us who to protect our hearts from. This video isn't here to shame. It's not here for clicks or entertainment. It's here because too many righteous women who love Allah, who want to build homes rooted in faith, end up broken, confused, or abandoned. Not because they lacked piety, but because no one warned them. So before you say yes, before you silence another red flag, let's talk. These are the 7 types of men you should never marry. No matter how religious they look, don't scroll, don't skip, because what comes next might save your heart from the wrong man and lead you toward the right one. Bismillah. Type number 1. The man who uses Islam to control you. He tells you, it's your duty to obey me. He cites hadith after hadith about the rights of the husband. He reminds you that he's your qawwam, your protector, your leader. And yes, Islam does give the husband a position of leadership in the home. But we forget one thing. In Islam, leadership isn't about power. It's about responsibility. The Prophet, the most powerful leader in human history, was also the gentlest husband. He never shouted at his wives, never humiliated them, never used his authority to silence them. If a man uses Islam to make you feel small, scared, or silent, that's not qawwama. That's ego in disguise. Yes, a husband has the right to set boundaries, but those boundaries must come from wisdom, not wounded pride. They must be shaped by care, not control. When his guidance is driven by love for Allah, it feels like safety. But when it's fueled by pride, it feels like prison. You'll notice it in the subtle ways. He talks more than he listens. You feel like you're constantly wrong, even when you're right. You start asking yourself, am I a bad wife for wanting to be heard? Let me tell you this, sister. Obedience in marriage is meant to be an act of worship, not a weapon, not something twisted into guilt, not something demanded through fear. The Prophet said, the best of you are those who are best to their wives, not the loudest, not the most intimidating, not the one who wins every argument. When the Prophet corrected something at home, he did it with compassion, with wisdom, without ever breaking the heart of the woman in front of him. So if his version of Islam makes you feel invisible, worthless, or ashamed, that's not Islam. That's narcissism in a thobe. Let them call you disobedient. Let them say you're overreacting. But the woman who knows her worth to Allah cannot be ruled by a man whose only tool is fear. A man who truly fears his Lord will never raise his voice more than he raises your iman. He won't control you. He'll carry you. May Allah protect every woman from men who speak like scholars but love like tyrants, and may He guide her to the one whose gentleness mirrors the Sunnah. Type number 2. The man who dresses the deen but walks in pride. He wears the thobe. Keeps a long beard, knows the ahadith by heart. He speaks about Islam with eloquence, power, and passion. From the outside, he seems righteous, maybe even inspiring. But watch closely. When someone disagrees with him, even gently, he reacts, not with humility, but superiority. His tone becomes sharp. His eyes roll. He speaks as if being questioned is an insult to Islam itself. He doesn't guide. He lectures. He doesn't correct. He condemns. He might remind you of your obligations, but forgets that kindness is an obligation too. This is the man who has knowledge, but has forgotten character. He quotes the deen, but has never let it reach his heart. The Prophet Muhammad said, "No one humbles themselves for the sake of Allah, except that Allah elevates them." Real piety never comes with arrogance. True taqwa is dressed in humility, not superiority, and here's what makes him dangerous. He doesn't need to raise his voice to crush you. Sometimes the worst damage is done with a calm smile and a tone that makes you feel less than for daring to think. You'll find yourself shrinking, second-guessing your every opinion, not because you're wrong, but because you've been trained to feel wrong. He'll say things like, "I'm just advising you," but it won't feel like advice. It'll feel like a sword behind a soft tone. He speaks sweetly on stage, but at home your heart trembles, because arrogance doesn't always yell. Sometimes it just makes you feel like nothing, while wearing a sunnah cap. And here's the truth. A man of taqwa doesn't need to prove he's righteous. His adab walks in the room before his beard does. His humility speaks louder than his khutbahs. The Prophet, despite being the seal of prophets, served his family, sewed his own clothes, took advice from his wives, and never acted like he was above correction. So if the man you're with can't handle being advised, if he makes you feel sinful just for expressing your feelings, he may have knowledge, but not spiritual maturity. Marriage isn't about choosing the most followed man online. It's about the one who makes you feel safe when there's no one watching. Ask yourself, does he treat the waiter with dignity? Does he admit his faults or justify them with fiqh? Does he use Islam to make others feel elevated or beneath him? Because if his only softness is reserved for the microphone and not the woman who prays for him every night, then that softness is performance, not personality. And the worst kind of loneliness is being married to someone who preaches mercy but lives in pride. So don't be fooled by the stage. Don't marry the spotlight. Marry the man whose private adab is better than his public dawah. Because the most dangerous mask is a religious one, worn for the people, but never for Allah. He pays the bills. He comes home on time. He provides. He shows up physically, but when you try to speak from your heart, when your voice cracks, your eyes fill, when you're looking for softness, he disappears in silence. Not out the door, but into himself. He doesn't shout. He doesn't insult. But somehow, you still feel like you're completely alone. You try to explain what's hurting. He sighs, looks at his phone, changes the subject, dismisses your tears as drama. And slowly, your emotions start to feel like a burden. Your vulnerability feels like weakness. You begin to believe that your need to be heard is asking for too much, but you're not asking for diamonds. You're not demanding palaces. You're asking for presence, for eye contact, for stillness, for a hand to hold, not just in the masjid, but in moments of grief. This is the kind of man who doesn't harm with words. He wounds with absence. Marriage in Islam is meant to be sukoon, a space of peace. But when you cry beside someone and they don't even turn their head, that's not just apathy. That's a crack in the covenant. Yes, men carry burdens. Yes, their hearts are weighed by provision, responsibility, pressure, and in Islam, that responsibility is respected. But strength in a man doesn't mean emotional silence. The Prophet Muhammad, the busiest man, the leader of the Ummah, noticed when Aisha, R.A., was upset. He didn't mock her. He didn't dismiss her. He waited. He listened. Sometimes, he just sat with her pain. If you cry and he scrolls his screen, if you open up and he walks away, if your sadness is treated like a nuisance, not a signal, that's not coldness. That's emotional cruelty in disguise. You begin to question yourself. Maybe you are too sensitive. Maybe you should just stop feeling. And slowly, day by day, you go silent. Not because you're healed, but because your voice has been ignored for so long you forgot what it sounds like. You sleep beside him, but your heart feels like it's on a different planet. You eat at the same table, but it feels like a business partnership, not a sacred bond. Sister, the worst kind of heartbreak isn't loud. It's lying next to someone every night, and feeling like you're not allowed to need them. So ask yourself, does he look you in the eyes when you speak? Does he ask what your silence is saying? Does he comfort or just correct? Because love isn't just presence. It's connection. And the man who shrinks away from your pain, the man who thinks strength is silence, that vulnerability is weakness, will never be able to carry your storms. Don't marry the man who's in the house, but never in your heart. Type number 4, the man who wraps possession in the language of love. You don't need to go out today. Why are you still talking to her? You've got me. What else do you need? At first it feels like protection. You smile and think, wow, he really wants to keep me safe. But protection without wisdom becomes a cage. Little by little, your world begins to shrink. Conversations become shorter, friendships fade. You stop laughing freely, dressing comfortably, breathing fully, until one day you wake up and realize you're not being loved. You're being controlled. This isn't leadership. It's surveillance. It's not kawama. It's emotional. Captivity wrapped in romantic words. Yes, Islam gives a husband responsibility, but it also gives him accountability. The Prophet Muhammad wasn't just the head of his home, he was its heartbeat. He led with softness, not suspicion, with compassion, not control. He never turned love into surveillance. But this man, he watches you like a guard, not a guardian. He questions every text, he monitors your smile, and he masks it all by saying, "It's because I care." But real care doesn't suffocate, it creates safety, not silence. You start to notice. You hesitate before speaking. You flinch when your phone rings. You laugh less. You breathe less. And when you bring it up, he'll say, "I'm only doing what's best for you." But love that makes you erase yourself is not love. That's possession. Islam gives a man the right to advise his wife, to guard her from harm, to guide her in deen, but it never gives him permission to destroy her identity. There's a difference between a husband who leads you toward Allah and a man who isolates you for himself. Ask yourself, do I feel guided or guarded like property? Do I feel heard or only monitored? Do I have a voice or just an assignment? Real love expands your soul. Real leadership inspires growth. Real kawama feels like ease, not anxiety. So if you find yourself dimming just to keep peace, shrinking, just to keep the marriage alive, that's not peace, that's silent erasure. Don't let him misquote the Quran to make you feel unworthy. Don't let him twist hadith to steal your freedom. Don't let someone hide their ego behind the word care, because Islam protects women. It does not possess them. And if his love needs you to be afraid, quiet, or invisible, that's not love. That's control with a smile. The worst type of oppressor isn't the one who shouts. It's the one who whispers control into your ear while smiling like a saint. It starts with silence. A message he hides. A call he quickly declines. A story that doesn't quite add up. But he says, "You're just overthinking." You want to believe him. You try to ignore the pit in your stomach, but your heart knows something isn't right. This is the man who lies without blinking, who cheats with just enough distance to make you feel like you're the crazy one for suspecting anything. And when you confront him, he flips the script. You're insecure. You don't trust me. You're always finding problems. But behind his locked phone is a web of messages, connections, conversations. He thinks no one, not even Allah, sees. Let's be honest. Islam doesn't just forbid zina. It forbids deception. It forbids betrayal. It forbids turning someone's heart into collateral damage for your ego. The Prophet said, "There is no faith in one who cannot be trusted." No faith, no deen, for the one who breaks a promise with ease. And here's what's terrifying. He may still pray, still post Islamic reminders, still say, "I'm working on myself." But a man who fears Allah doesn't hide behind salah. He hides inside it. He doesn't say wallahi while texting someone else. He doesn't quote Quran online while breaking hearts in private. Don't be fooled by charisma. Shaitan was once a worshipper too, until pride made him fall. And let's talk reality. Men are tested with desire. Temptation is everywhere. But Islam didn't give men an excuse to sin. It gave them a path to discipline. If he says, "I'll stop once we're married," it's just online. It doesn't mean anything. Know this, a man who cheats once without remorse can cheat again, with even more skill, and a man who lies with ease can lie about anything. Ask yourself, does he repent when caught, or just regret being exposed? Does he fear hurting you or only getting caught? Marriage built on broken trust is not a home. It's a slow collapse of your sanity. Don't marry a man whose heart belongs to desires, while his lips pretend to belong to Allah, because a man who betrays Allah in secret can never protect you in the open. Type number 6. The man who's chained. By his own addictions, he doesn't yell, he doesn't hit. In fact, he often says the words you long to hear. I love you. I'll do better. I'm trying. But every time things start to feel calm, he slips again. He disappears for hours. He lies about where he's been. His money vanishes. His eyes are distant. His promises always broken. You want to believe him. You do believe him. Because the man standing in front of you doesn't feel evil. He feels wounded. But here's the painful truth. Love cannot fix what only taqwa can. When a man is shackled by his addictions, whether it's drugs, alcohol, gambling, pornography, or hidden sins, your loyalty will never be enough to pull him out. Only Allah can change hearts. Addiction doesn't just devour the one suffering. It consumes the one who keeps trying to save him. You'll find yourself making excuses for him, lying to protect him, crying for him, praying over him, and blaming yourself when nothing changes. But Islam teaches, do not destroy yourselves with your own hands. Do good. Verily Allah loves the doers of good. Yes, be patient. Yes, be supportive. But don't confuse patience with self-destruction, and don't confuse sabr with silent suffering behind closed doors. Many men turn to addiction not out of evil, but out of pain, confusion, weakness. But a man who fears Allah will seek help, not hide behind your love while secretly dismantling it. If he says, I can quit any time, I'll stop once we're married, it's just a phase. Don't let those lines become lullabies that rock you into denial, because if he can't let go of haram now, marriage won't cure it, it will magnify it. Ask yourself, can I build a home on a heart that's still addicted to destruction? Am I saving him or losing myself? Islam doesn't ask you to marry a perfect man, but it forbids you from chaining your soul to someone who's drowning in darkness while claiming to love the light. Your role is to be a partner, not his rehab. Don't offer your heart as a crutch to a man who refuses to stand before his Lord. Type. Tier 7. The man who's a public angel but a private storm at the masjid, he's beloved. He greets the imam with a smile, opens the door for elders, posts Quran quotes daily, and everyone says, what a righteous brother. But when the lights dim, when the guests leave, when the world isn't watching, so does his mercy. He thanks strangers. But at home, he meets you with silence. He shares reminders online, but ignores your pain offline. He prays tahajjud, but leaves your tears to dry on their own. He's mastered Islamic performance, but neglected Islamic character. The Prophet Muhammad wasn't just noble in the masjid. He was gentle at home. He didn't have two versions. His wives never felt invisible. They felt valued, heard, seen. But this man yells behind walls, dismisses your feelings as complaints, uses deen as a costume, not a commitment. And when you speak up, no one believes you. Because to them he's calm, composed, respected. But Allah sees both sides, and Allah's justice isn't fooled by filters nor by public praise. So don't marry him for how he speaks at conferences. Don't choose him because everyone approves. Choose based on how he acts when no one is watching. Ask yourself, is his softness real or staged? Does he walk with humility or just recite it? Does he worship for Allah or for applause? Because the man who wears Islam for people, but removes it behind closed doors, will expect you to fake peace while he withholds the love Allah obligated him to give. That's not a husband. That's an actor in religious costume. And you, sister, were never created to be half-loved. You were created to be honored. Marriage in Islam is sacred, a contract not just between two hearts, but between those hearts and Allah. It was meant to be a garden of mercy, a bond of growth, a shelter of peace. But too many women, righteous women, fall for men who wear Islam on the outside, but have hearts far from what Allah truly loves. So if you saw your story in any of these types, don't ignore it, because Islam doesn't just teach us to love well. It teaches us to protect our hearts for Allah's sake. How do you do that? By making istikhara not just a prayer, but a dialogue with Allah. By watching how He treats the weak, not just the scholars. By trusting your fitra over the pressure of society, by knowing that the ayah is true, the good women are for the good men, and the good men for the good women. It's not about perfection. It's about intention, about hearts that bow before Allah in secret and treat His creation with honor in public. And if you're already married to someone who struggles, don't lose hope. But remember, change begins with accountability. Healing starts with truth, not denial. Sister, don't settle out of fear. Don't say yes just to escape loneliness, because the wrong marriage won't cure your loneliness, it will multiply it. Take your time. Ask the hard questions. Look, past the beard, past the stage, past the speech, and trust this. When you honor Allah in your standards, Allah will honor you in your outcome, because you were not created to be tolerated or silenced, or made to feel small. You were created with dignity, and the man who deserves you will protect that dignity like an amanah from Allah. Final dua and call to action. If this message reached your heart, drop a simple dua in the comments. Ya Allah, protect my heart from harm and guide me to what is best. You never know when someone may say Ameen, and it could be the dua that changes your destiny. If this reminder helped, like it, share it. Let someone else be protected through you. Until next time, stay alert, stay honored, and stay close to Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. If this message reached your heart, drop a simple dua in the comments. Ya Allah, protect my heart from harm and guide me to what is best. You never know, someone may say Ameen, and it could be the dua that changes your destiny. If this reminder helped, like it, share it. Let someone else be protected through you. Until next time, and stay alert, stay honored, and stay close to Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.